Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today we are in Warsaw, Poland.
Warsaw is the capital of Poland and there are over 3 million people living in the metropolitan area. We've always wanted to come here because Warsaw seems really unique and quite different from other Polish cities. There are skyscrapers and there's the old town, so there's quite a contrast between old and new. And we can't wait to see what the city is like. And since we love Polish food, we can't wait to taste all its deliciousness. So let's go.
So to start our day off, we decided to get ourselves a paczki, or a donut. One of our absolute favorite things when we come to Poland are these donuts. These are absolutely incredible. It seems strange to say, but I feel like Poland has some of the best donuts we've ever had anywhere in the world. And I'm from North America where people love donuts. We got ourselves two different flavors. This is rose, which I think is the most traditional. Somebody in the comments can let us know. I don't think we've ever had the rose flavor, so let's try this. Typically, rose or anything floral is not a kind of flavor that we would normally go for, but this is very subtle. It's not overpowering, it doesn't taste soapy or anything like that. It's actually really nice in this form. So I actually quite enjoy this. We actually had a gooseberry one the other day as well, and that was very sour, very strange. So if you are Polish, please let us know in the comments what is your favorite paczki flavor.
The place where we got this is actually called Dobra Pączkarnia, and I think we had this particular brand in Wrocław before, and I remember seeing this big line outside the shop and I just had to line up to and get one, and ever since then I've been dreaming of those donuts. I'm not usually a rose flavor fan. The donut is so good. So nice and fluffy, and the jam, it's better than I'd imagine, but it still tastes floral. I find it really interesting that that's like a typical flavor here. Still pretty good, like a lot better than other donuts in other countries. We also got pistachio, and this one looks amazing. Apparently, although they look similar to like German Berliner donuts, they're actually more rich. They also use some alcohol apparently when they make them, so the oil doesn't penetrate completely through the dough. Yeah, let's try this one. That is so good. This one actually tastes a little bit more fresh, a little bit more fried, but I really like that, and the pistachio is so delicious. This is like a winner.
Of course it is, you love pistachio.
I love pistachio, but this is just like so good. Like if you never had a donut in Poland before, you need to come here and eat donuts because these are some of the best donuts in the world.
I was expecting some sort of pistachio cream inside, but it's just like crushed pistachio right underneath the top layer. It's so strange. What the hell? That is so weird. It actually does have a pistachio creamy kind of taste once I actually get into it. I actually don't know which one I prefer, to be honest. We've had a couple different flavors. I think we had plum before, we had gooseberry. Out of all of them, I don't know which one I would choose, but
This one.
I don't know about that. But they're all freaking delicious. Yeah, these are so squishy and pillowy. I just love them. I'm gonna take a nap right on this thing.
There was also this other shop next to the donut shop called Dobre Precle, and they were selling these circle-shaped pretzels, and I don't know if this is particularly Polish. I thought this kind of looks like the bagel that we had in Krakow, but we can't say no to anything like that, especially not a pretzel, so we had to get one. This one is mozzarella and pesto, and they also had sweet ones. I don't know how I'm gonna eat this. Just bite into it. There's so much cheese. It tastes so good. That tastes more like a kind of German pretzel, filled with so much cheese, kind of like a pizza crust, and has like oregano. And these seeds are delicious. You're gonna love that because it's like kind of sesame. I don't know if this is like the bagel from Krakow, but I think this is a little bit better. This is so good.
You're 100% right. This definitely looks like a stuffed crust from a stuffed crust pizza. It smells so freaking good. Let's try this. This thing is absolutely amazing. I don't know how traditional this is. They actually did have more traditional pretzels underneath these ones, but this is so good. So doughy, so cheesy. Has that nice toasted seed flavor. These are freaking amazing.
We're now at Nowy Świat Street. probably said that wrong. But this is one of the streets that has a bunch of stores, a bunch of restaurants, and I think it like leads to the castle here. And it's super pretty. It has all these old buildings, although the street is called New World. But yeah, it's really nice. We're now at the Holy Cross Church, or the Basilica Świętego Krzyża. They actually started building this church in 1682 and finished it in 1757. Yeah, but it was actually destroyed during the war in 1945, and they had to completely rebuild it. I think it used to be like more Baroque, and then when they rebuilt it, they rebuilt it a little bit more simplified. But it's still super pretty, and I've noticed in Poland people use so much gold inside churches, and I think that makes it quite unique, and that's why I kind of like seeing them here, because it's still a bit different than like other churches in other countries.
So we're just walking down the street and we saw this really old school looking candy cart, and they were selling this candy that's apparently specific to Warsaw called pańska skórka, and apparently it's been around since the 19th century. And they had all these different flavors, and they were also selling bagels. I decided to go with the watermelon flavor. We also got another one, which Anya will try. So let's see how it is. It looks like saltwater taffy or something. It's really sticky and really hard.
Lose your teeth.
It's a lot chewier than a saltwater taffy, that's for sure. You can really taste the watermelon flavor with this. These were actually 3 zloty a piece, so you'll have to let us know in the comments. Is that a normal price? Because it seemed a little bit expensive, considering how much else you can get for 3 zloty in some other places, but still really good and worth a try.
I got Smurf flavor because as a child I always got Smurf ice cream, so it felt like the right thing to do.
Don't break your teeth.
This one's a lot softer. So chewy. In this case it's actually bubblegum, which I don't like, but the candy is really nice and not like saltwater taffy. It's a lot more sticky. Apparently this is made out of egg whites, sugar, and potato starch and colors and things like that. I read that in like 1908 it was actually advertised as a product for like coughing as well. Like I assume the flavor was different, and you would get this in pharmacies. And they also are sold apparently on the 1st of November on All Saints Day at cemeteries. So that's interesting. But yeah, really, really interesting. I want to try the other one actually. Because unfortunately Smurf here is bubblegum. In Germany it's not bubblegum. This one's better. So we're now in the core of the old town of Warsaw, and it's super pretty. But what's interesting about it is that it was actually nearly destroyed during the war. Apparently 85% of the city in general were destroyed. And they rebuilt it afterwards, and apparently it was the world's first attempt to rebuild an entire core of a city. And since 1980, it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
By some, Warsaw is actually known as the Phoenix City because it essentially rose from the ashes after almost complete destruction, and it became one of the more wealthy cities and areas in the EU. According to a 2018 survey, it actually has one of the highest GDPs in all of the EU, which is pretty crazy. So it's a pretty wealthy city.
We're now at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which is a monument for the fallen soldiers that fell for Poland, especially World War I, I think. And there's actually an unknown soldier in the tomb since 1925, which is kind of crazy. And there's also an eternal flame that is always burning. And the tomb is a remaining part of the Saxon palace, which was, I think, destroyed during World War II. And that's all that's left, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and behind us you can see the Saxon Gardens as well. Which, interesting fact about Warsaw is that apparently 25% of the city is covered in greenery. And I think there's like 82 or 86 parks or something in the city as well, which is pretty crazy. So that's something that we always love about a city, is when there's like these nice green parks smack dab in the middle of all the tall, cool buildings.
It's a nice park.
Whenever we're in a new city, we always like to try out the local craft beer. And now here in Warsaw, it is no exception. So we stopped at a place called Jabeerwocky for some local Warsaw craft beer. We actually got two beers that they make themselves. We got the Weizen and we also got an APA. So let's try this.
Drink half the beer.
Delicious. I love white beers. They're one of my favorites. This place was actually recommended by a local, so we decided we had to check it out.
The other beer we got was the APA. Pretty good, but I prefer the Weizen because this one's really hoppy, but that's how craft beer should be. And apparently Poland is the third largest beer producer in Europe, and I think it's known for having really, really good beer, so not surprised these are good.
We're now at Zapiecek for some Polish food, and as you can see, vodka. I got the grass vodka. It's that Bison brand that you always see. I don't quite remember the name of it, but this is a freaking massive shot. $3, that's a bit expensive, but this thing is freaking huge. I guess I'm gonna try to drink this in one shot. So, Nostrovier, let's see how this works. Delicious, actually. You said that you don't like that one so much, but that has a really nice flavor, actually. And I don't think it's too strong. Really, really good.
I got the clear one. I think the brand is called Jabeerwocky. But I'm not gonna shoot this because this is too strong.
Of course.
Oh, I don't know how Brandon can keep a straight face, but let's eat so I don't get wasted.
Too late. We are starting with rosół, which I think just translates to chicken broth. And this is a soup that came up on every single list of foods to try in Poland. On Reddit, this is a dish that everybody said they eat at home, they eat during Christmas, they eat during pretty much any holiday. And I think typically this comes with a kind of chicken broth based soup and noodles, but the version that we got actually has beef dumplings inside. Is it weird to have these beef dumplings inside, or is that common as well? Let us know in the comments. It smells freaking delicious, I'm not gonna lie. These little dumplings look like mini cute pierogi, so I'm sure this is gonna be delicious. That is so good. They really taste like little miniature pierogi. And that chicken broth is really intense, actually. Really concentrated chicken flavor, a little bit salty. You can see the oil, the fat just resting on top of this broth. It is really flavorful and absolutely delicious and a great way to start any meal.
Delicious. I feel like I've never had a chicken broth with like big dumplings like that before. It's almost like a bit like raviolis.
Yeah.
I like it. And it has little carrots and herbs. Yeah. Another item we're gonna have is called kartacze, I think. And it's basically, I think, a potato dumpling filled with meat. I think it's pork. And I think, like, we chose sauerkraut with it, but I don't know if this is actually bigos.
The sauerkraut has little chunks of meat in it.
Yeah, and there's also little chunks of meat on top and like chives. And this looks delicious. This looks kind of like the inside of a meat pierogi. That is delicious. And I feel like the filling is the meat filling of a pierogi, and then the outside is kind of like a German potato dumpling.
Squishy.
So it's really yummy, yeah. And we also got some sour cream. I don't know if that's for it, but I feel like
It has to be.
it would go really well together. And I already tasted the sauerkraut, and it does kind of taste like bigos. It's kind of sour, but also sweet. Perfect with sour cream. Yeah. This is better than a German potato dumpling because it's filled with the meat.
I feel like they have something very similar to this in Lithuania, and they call them zeppelins. They're these oval-shaped dumplings just like this. I also think they're potato dumplings. We've never been to Lithuania, but These look absolutely delicious. One of my absolute favorite things about German cuisine, Czech cuisine, any cuisine in Eastern Europe or Central Europe is potato dumplings, bread dumplings. So this is completely up my alley. I absolutely love these. And as I already said, unlike a German potato dumpling, these are actually stuffed with a bunch of meat and delicious other things. Let's try this sauerkraut mixture as well. As we said, I think there's a bunch of meat in here. I totally think this sauerkraut tastes like bigos. And if you don't know what bigos is, make sure that you check out our Warsaw food video because we ate it in that video. Yeah, this is incredible. We are now going to try Placki ziemniaczane, or potato pancakes in Polish. I'm sure I completely butchered that. I'm sorry, as we said, Polish is very hard for us, especially me as a Canadian. This looks absolutely amazing. We love potato pancakes. Potato pancakes are a thing in Germany as well, but they don't look like this most of the time. I feel like mushroom sauce is very common in Poland and it is one of our favorite things. We especially like to get it with our pierogi. Let's see how this is. Instead of small pancakes, it's one gigantic one by the looks of it. It is super crispy as well. All right, I think I have myself a semi-manageable bite now, so let's try this out. As I'm sure you can hear, super crunchy, very savory, a nice creamy mushroom sauce, a little bit earthy. This is absolutely amazing. And I love that it's just this giant crispy pancake rather than these little ones. This is so good. And that mushroom sauce is incredible.
That is so good. The mushroom sauce almost tastes like mushroom soup. So I really like that. And the pancake is just delicious because I grew up with potato pancakes because I'm from Germany. These are just like the ones I grew up with, but a lot bigger. I'm so excited to be able to get potato pancakes because recently we went to Northern Ireland and they have something called a box tea there, which is supposed to be a potato pancake, but it wasn't. So this is my first potato pancake in like years?
Yeah.
I don't know. So this definitely hits the spot. This is so good. So we're gonna finish eating this food and I'm gonna finish sipping on my vodka, and I asked for some tap water on the side so this wouldn't hit me too hard, and they said they didn't have it. They don't have taps. They don't have tap water. Isn't that crazy?
How do they even cook?
No, I know, it's fine. I know it's not normal in Europe, even in general, I guess, to ask for tap water, so I guess I'll just be drinking my vodka.
Zdrowie.
Zdrowie. We're now at the Palace of Science and Culture, which was completed in 1955. I think it's quite a controversial building because it was built during Soviet times, so it is a reminder of that. And I think some of the older generation sometimes thinks this is like a little bit of an eyesore. I think it's one of the most famous buildings in Poland or in Warsaw. And many people say that it was a gift from Russia or from Stalin. I think it was kind of more like an unwanted gift, and I think Poland actually had to pay for it, but I'm not quite sure. But apparently it is one of the tallest buildings in Europe. I think the 6th tallest in the European Union, and it used to be, for a brief amount of time, the tallest clock tower in the world. I think it looks pretty cool.
Another very tall building here in Warsaw is the Warsaw building. I think that this is the tallest building in the EU. It is 53 floors, and if I'm not mistaken, you can actually go up onto an observation deck at some point, which is like, I think 200 and something meters up in the sky, which would be fun, but of course, as always, we were broke. We don't do those kind of things because it's too much money, but it's still cool to look at, and it's very interesting to see such a skyline in a European city like this.
So we came to Noncy Market, which is this kind of like night market that runs from Thursday to Saturday, I think. And it's this hip place that is right next to the train on the bridge on top of some old train tracks, which is really cool and weird and reminds me kind of my home Berlin. There's all these different street food stands, and you can get like Asian food, you can get Polish food, you can get all types of food. So we decided to get a stroopwafel, which is Dutch. It's this waffle with caramel inside, and we've never had a fresh one before. We actually tried to get a fresh one in the Netherlands, but then the stall's machine broke and we never got it. So finally we get one. Let's see. The caramel is so nice and gooey. The waffle is a bit harder than I feel like the ones that you get from the store. I feel like maybe they could have cooked it a bit less. It's still pretty good. I really like the caramel. And since there's so many international stalls here, we decided we're allowed to have something that's not Polish. But yeah, I really like this place and the vibe of Warsaw in general.
As Ani said, we love the vibe of this place. There's graffiti everywhere. There's even a bar that's almost like sideshow themed with like little circus kind of side to it. There's a weird giraffe statue and all these things. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. There's actually one of those fun mirrors too that like change your size and make you look short and stubby.
And made us
Pretty
look
funny.
normal.
Yeah, maybe that's just what we look like now after all this street food. So soft. With stroopwafels, I typically expect them to be more gooey and chewy and like have like a pull to them, but this one's more like, I don't know, almost crackery. I do think that Ani's correct. I do think that was a little bit overdone, but it's still really delicious. And just to sit here and enjoy the vibe of this market is good enough for me. It's really, really cool. So if you are in Warsaw, come here, check it out.
So we're gonna take an Uber to our Airbnb now, but I have to say, we really like Warsaw. A lot of people sometimes talk negatively about it and say other cities like Krakow are way better, but I actually really like Warsaw. It actually reminds me of my home, Berlin, a lot. There's so many different types of areas with different types of architecture, and there's the Old Town, and it's actually really pretty. And then there's like more modern areas. I really like the skyscrapers too. It's like very unique in Europe, so I think everyone should visit Warsaw because, yeah, it's really unique.
But that is it for this video. So if you did like it, please give it a like, write us a comment. By far the most important thing is to hit that subscribe button. But that is it for now. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye.